the next generation. People who cannot afford to get jobs and who are tens of thousands of dollars in debt are not going to contribute to our national wealth, and they're not going to contribute to our health and well-being. So we really do need to address that issue. We need to look at good paying jobs for Americans. And I think that we need to do that not by investing in old industries, but by investing in new industries. We need to be bold and visionary now. And Oregon is a national leader in this. We can actually help to provide the way by looking at alternatives for energy production, for transportation, for manufacturing. These are all things that we have answers to here in our state, and we're really blessed to have the people who can actually help to create a difference in the future. So, thank you very much for listening to me and to the other candidates today. I appreciate your time.
When I gave my opening speech, I ran out of time, but I don't want to forget this. Stephanie, will you please stand up, because she has never been to any of my forums. Stephanie, will you stand up, please? That's the love of my life. I've worked around the world. I've worked all over the United States, and my deal when I worked for a large corporation is I was a troubleshooter. Whatever went wrong, I went fixed, and I went everywhere, everywhere. And I had an opportunity one time to buy 2 facilities, one in Michigan and one in Toledo, Ohio, that was slated to be closed. 235 union jobs and 70 non-union jobs. It took me 2 years, but I put together the finances and I saved that company, and today those people are working. That's what I have done in my whole career, taken on the tough jobs to fix things. Last week, this came out in the paper. Dallas sawmill sold at auction. It was closed down 3 years ago, folks. I'm telling you something, if I was a congressman, that would never happen. I guarantee you that would have never shut down, and that would have never been closed. Because I would have put together the finances on that, come hell or high water, and in about 6 or 7 years, that would have been employee owned. That's what we need. We need to embrace what our natural resources will give us, and make sure that you have a congressman who's willing to stand up and fight every day to make sure that the people here in Oregon have jobs. And I'm really, really tired to see 1 out of 3 kids not graduate out of high school. I want to see mid-high and high school have grade school education. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to fund it with our forests. I want clean air, clean water, and a sustained habitat for our wildlife. We need a balanced economy here so people can have a life. Thank you very much.
I would like to make the distinction that the Constitutional Party is different than these other parties. That the gridlock in Washington, D.C. between Republicans and Democrats is something that has to be broken. We, as citizens of this state, are finding that our rights are violated, and so for that purpose, I went to the legislature last session and spent considerable time trying to rectify some of these wrongs, and found that some of these wrongs could only be rectified at the federal level. Now, as a father of 9 children and 9 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild, I have to look at the future of my posterity and whether or not they're safe. And I do not feel that they are safe, and that's the reason that I'm running. As for using up our forests, I think that's great. We have lots of manufacturers that had to go out of business because of that can be reinstituted. I also think that for a good comment here about the industrial hemp for paper, I think that's really good. The mill in Oregon City, Smurfit, closed down because the cost of paper was so cheap to get it from South America that they couldn't compete it. These are the problems that we have competing with the world economy. And that's why we have to have tariffs. That's why we have to tax these things that are coming in, and these companies that are using our natural resources, that get rid of the oil subsidies. And that's ridiculous. And as for our veterans, I don't think we're doing a very good job of taking care of veterans as they come back. You know, the fact that they have to come back out of the sandbox, go to class, and start sign up for school, if they flunk out, they got to pay them back. And that's and the other thing is the schools are too expensive. The books are too expensive. The schooling is too expensive. They need to cut the cost at that end instead of trying to undo a loan that you made. You made a loan, okay, you're responsible for that loan. But if we lower the cost of education, that's what we need to do. Thank you very much, and thank you.
When I come home, ask people what they want. What's the most important thing for your congressman, for Schrader, to do for you? And almost to a person, they say, please work together. Please work together. Solve our country's problems, or at least act like they're trying to solve our problems. I think America deserves and needs people like me that are steeped in bipartisanship, working across the aisle. I have strong opinions. I have strong principles. Each and every one of you out there do too. But it doesn't serve this country, it doesn't serve Oregon, it doesn't serve the 5th Congressional District very well if I'm not willing to work with my neighbor who has a slightly different opinion. I'm proud of the work I've done with Greg and Peter, and ONC, BLM Land Bill. That's a huge sea change, trying to break through a very, very contentious discussion, trying to minimize some of the problems, and it makes some of the advantages occur in our natural resources and our rural communities. Small Business Committee, we work to reduce burdensome regulation to small businesses. Small businesses are different than big businesses. Bipartisanly, all the bills coming out of that committee. We just, in the Ag Committee, passed a farm bill out of my committee, the House side. It's not perfect. It's a little better, in my opinion, particularly on the nutrition side. But considering the makeup of that committee with a lot of new members, far left, far right, and many of us in the middle, we were able to pass out a pretty darn good bill with overwhelming bipartisan support. That's the type of representative you want. And if you want to fix our debt deficit problems, get our economy going, you want to work with someone like Kurt Schrader, who's one of the leaders in the Go Big Coalition, to find that bipartisan, Bol-Simpson type solution to get our economy going, and create jobs, and create the great country that we all know and love for our kids and our grandkids. Thank you.
Well, thank you all four. We realize these time limits are kind of inhumane, and you cope with them graciously and admirably, and we appreciate that. Now we're going to turn all these folks loose on you. Feel free to direct a question at one candidate, but I'll pass the baton to others so they'll have a chance to respond also.
We're going to have to steal one of their mics for the road.
Oh, okay. You want to take Hans first?
I'm Hans West, club member, and I have a question for Mr. Ball and Mr. Schrader, or maybe both of them. We have a two-party system here in this country that's essentially, I think, we makes it very hard for third and fourth parties to get in. And what measures, if any, would you support to level the playing field? And this might include instant runoff or local primaries, something of that. I'm a big proponent of open primary. I think that allows the best candidate to have an opportunity to shine at the end of the day. It's very contentious, I understand, but I've been supportive of that since I was in the state legislature. People here, whether you're signed up for one party or another, should have the opportunity to vote for who you think is the best possible candidate at the end of the day. And those two should be in the general election. So I think at this point it's good. I enjoy having a diverse group up here. I think it really helps frame the discussion for a lot of Oregonians, people in this district, about the different philosophies, different degree of problem-solving ability that they want to have represented.
We'll give each of you a chance to comment.
Well, obviously, I don't have the kind of money that comes down through the Democratic and the Republican Party. So to even say that you can have an even playing field in a primary is not really getting us any kind of equality. I think what's going to happen is that the people are just going to have to wake up, pull their head out of the sand, stand up for what's right. And when they do that, we're going to win. We're going to win big because they're going to see that the importance of the Constitution as the founding law, right, has to be upheld, and it's not being upheld.
As a member of a third party, I just wanted to also address that question. I think that I would not support an open primary as the most ideal solution for creating an even playing field. Because an open primary is almost always going to end up being the two candidates who have the most money. I think that instant runoff voting or ranked choice voting is a good first step. It's something that the Democratic Party in Minnesota is supporting. It's something that we could support in Oregon. Obviously, the Green Party stands solidly behind instant runoff voting, and it's ranked choice. And I think that would do a lot. Would be a good first for a campaign. Would be really good.
I don't know where the money is in the Republican Party, because I haven't seen any of it. So I think it should be an open race, and I do think, the question that I really get tired of running as a candidate, and the first question I get, I don't care who it's from, it's always, how much money do you have? So my response is how much money have you given me? So we'll start with that first. But that's the issue that I see here, folks, because I had to make a decision. Am I going to spend 90% of my time raising money and 10% of my time talking to you? Or am I going to do it the opposite? So I chose 90% of my time to talk to the people and 10% of my time raising money. The money is a big issue. It really is a big issue because that drives the system. And it is a machine. These PACs, they throw out all kinds of money and they attack people, and I don't think that's right. I really don't think that's right. And they say things that are either half true, could be true, might be true, and I think that's absolutely wrong. All I care about is that you're an American. That's all I care about. And I care about my children, and I care about the seniors, and I care about you and my neighbors. That's what I care about. We're not going to solve these problems. Keep continuing to do the same old thing, electing the same old people. When I was in Tampa last week, I kept hearing, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And I said to myself, all right, are we better off now than we were 4 years ago? Depends on where you live in Oregon. If you're in Portland, I'm sure you're better off. But I look at it, are we better off today than we were 20 years ago? And in Oregon, we used to be the top 5 of this nation. Today, we're the bottom 5 of this nation. And that's the problem that I have. That's the problem that I have. So we really do have to do something with financing and the way we elect our candidates, because I think everybody should have an opportunity to run for office, just not the very rich. Thank you.
Karen Heiberger, Salem City Club member. My question is about the appropriate role of government in our personal lives. So I have 4 examples from the 5th district, and I'd like for you to comment on it. Light bulbs. Should I be able to choose what kind of light bulb in my own home, or should government tell me? My toilet flushing. Cutting down a tree on my own property, my own yard. And gasoline. Should I be forced to have ethanol in the gas that goes to my car?
Who wants to go first?
Okay. I'm sorry. Could you can I ask her to clarify?
Oh, I suppose if it's real quick.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you clarify how the government is telling you what kind of a light bulb to use in your house? And then I'll.
A little curlicue light bulb is something that I'm going to be mandated to have.
I think that the government should promote energy efficiency, and I think that that's definitely a good role for government. And to the degree that government promotes energy efficiency and promotes protecting the environment, I fully support it.
Well, they're not. Actually, it's a total misstatement, with all due respect. You're not mandated to have a curlicue light bulb at the end of the day. There's a lot of blog stuff out there, folks. I urge you to be a critical thinker and a critical reader, and and really look at the actual information that's out there before you make a decision. One you forgot is getting in your personal lives. I don't think the government has any role in getting into your personal life. But it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, what gender you are. I think there's a criminal and that's a fact.
So, will you address my other question? So toilet, low flush toilets, any manager need one
I think government should, as Schrader said, I think government should just really stay out of our personal lives at all. I've got a newspaper here that was written in 1967 on the front page. It's an article about my father. My father, when we sold the dairy, he loved the Old West and he wanted to build a ghost town. So we built a whole full-scale ghost town. So we built a town. And my dad used to kid, he says, I built the town, I own the town, I am the mayor. So I guess that's one election that he won. But I'm saying to myself, I can't build a tree house or anything without getting permission from the government today. So in my lifetime, I went from my father wanting to build a ghost town for his 3 sons, to I can't build a tree house. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. And do we, you know, when I talk about are we better off today than we were 20, 25, or 30 years ago? And I say we're not. There's some things that we are better off on. There's a lot of things that we're not. And I think government, you know, I think we need more journeymen and journeywomen and fewer lawyers. So, sorry, dear, she's a lawyer. I'm going to pay. There is a funeral home here represented. But anyway, I think government needs to stay out there.
Well, we all think the government should stay out of our lives, but they're not doing it, and it's not mandated. And the politicians that have been in previously to now have certainly not supported our right to choose whether we want a light bulb or a 1-gallon toilet, whether we get to cut down a tree. And this idea of regulating the gas so that we have to have ethanol, so you know it hurts the motor. But all in all, you know, I don't want to give just lip service to this. This is what we're talking about here: losing rights, not having the Constitution upheld, being told what you can do is unconstitutional. So anything that we can do to put government in its place, we need to do it. Each and every one of us needs to do our part. When they say move, stand solid. Stand up, America, for what's right.
Thank you. Tom Bailey is...
I'm Tom Bailey, a City Club member, and I have one brief question for Amanda Thompson. And that is, you have to sign, or are you intending, if elected, to sign Grover Norquist's pledge?
I was asked when I was in Tampa to sign something, and I said I don't sign anything until I read it. And I haven't read that. You know, I think that's something that we need to take to Congress, is that we read things before we sign off on them. So I'm not familiar with that, and I'd like to read that, and then I could get back to you and answer that question. But if it falls within the Constitution, it falls in what I think what America would want. I would certainly agree on anything like that.
Well, Kelly, you spotted somebody who's deserving. I've been guilty of picking people close in.
Sure. I see somebody who's deserving.
Hi, Kevin Cameron, Salem City Club member and state representative. And as somebody who just finished a tide session here in the state of Oregon, I realized more than ever how important, Congressman, it is to work together with both sides of the aisle. And one of the things that's true is you'll be one of 435 members of Congress. What would you say to whoever's elected to the President of the United States, how they should do things differently in trying to make people work together, or to whoever the Speaker of the House is in a leadership position? What would you say to the leaders of this country to make that happen? And how are you going to say it to them? When would you say it to them?
I think that's a good question, Kevin. And congratulations, I think you had a really good session. It's very impressive how our state worked together on things that other states could only dream about. Whether it's healthcare exchanges, whether it's education improvement, you guys are setting a new bar. Very proud of you. Well, I'll tell you, as a member of the Blue Dog Caucus and New Dem Caucus, which I think are progressive folks that are fiscally responsible and business-oriented a little bit, but not at the expense of the worker, I'd be telling the President of the United States, hey, you should be talking to us about how to frame legislation. Don't take it from these committee chairs that come from these very, very safe districts, where everything's framed in an inflammatory manner, make it very difficult for a member of the other side of the aisle to even begin to get on that bill or be part of that solution. I'm hopeful that in this election cycle, no matter who President of the United States is, we kind of forget it's Congress that writes the laws, not the President. Not the President. And I hope this Congress, whether it's on the Senate side or on my side in the House, that the numbers are close. Because there's a diversity of opinion within both Democrat and Republican caucuses. And that will force, hopefully, our leadership, our president, whoever it may be, to actually work together to get thoughtful legislation passed with the moderate members of both sides. And it doesn't have to be giving up your personal philosophy. I've worked with a lot of very conservative members in Congress on the other side of the aisle, but I work with those folks that are problem solvers and willing to work with me. So that's what I've been telling the President.
I think that it's clear, I feel like many Americans feel it's clear that no matter which side of the aisle Congress is on, it's not working for the interests of the American people. I think that it's clear, at least for people in the Green Party, that Congress is really working for the interests in general of the wealthy and the privileged. And this is part of why I have supported the Occupy movement, as many people did last year, because we feel that the needs and the interests of the poor, the disenfranchised, of the foreclosed upon, of the immigrants are being ignored, not just by Democrats and Republicans, but by the halls of power in Washington, D.C. And that the true interests of the American people must be expressed through government. Government is the government of the people, not of the Congress.
You know, when I hear that question, I think about the Affordable Care Act. And we talk about both sides of the aisle, and there wasn't one Republican that voted for that. And I would think that if I was on what side, Republican or Democrat, and if somebody on the other side, let's say no Democrat was going to vote for that and all the Republicans would vote for that, that would give me pause. Because what are they seeing in that bill that I don't see? We talk about blue dog or blue blood or whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, if you're really going to be bipartisan, and the other side is not voting for not one of them is voting for something, I think that I would have stopped and said, what is going on here? You know, my grandmother used to say, it's not what they say, it's what they do. And when you think about that, when I think about that house was completely divided, no one was coming together, I think I would have stood up and stopped and say, what is going on here? That we are completely divided here, folks. You know, and that's what they do. Rich versus poor, black versus white, you name it. It's all dividing us up. And we have to stop that, because the reason we have the problems we have today is because of exactly that. People are not working together. And I'll tell you what, we're suffering for that. 78 million people under the age of 18 are now responsible for $16 trillion of debt. That's my children. That is absolutely a disgrace in America. A disgrace in America that has happened. And I'll tell you what, folks, my generation is responsible for that. And I'm responsible for that, because I should have done this 20 years ago, but I was too busy working. We've got to collectively come together. We've got to fix these problems so these young people can have a life. We're responsible for making sure we transfer from one generation to the next generation better than we have it. For the first time in American history, that is not going to happen. That's why I'm here, because if If it was really good right now, 3% unemployment, you wouldn't see me up here. I got other things I can do. But it's all about the future. That's my answer. Thank you.
Well, Fred's kind of summed it up. I feel the same way. And if we don't get a handle on this, we are going down. Now, I've always been an independent thinker as far as the parties are concerned. The Democrats, I was a Democrat for 40 years, but I pretty much voted Republican when it came to the major candidates because they were more conservative. Now the Democratic Party has moved so far to the left that it's drugged the Republican Party to the left to be a little bit more moderate. The Constitutional Party is still standing for conservative values. It's still standing for the things that this country was established on. So what I'm saying is the people that you elect are going to go back and they're going to represent the party that they represent. So you send a Democrat back, you're going to get a liberal policy. You send a Republican back, you're going to get a moderate policy. You send a constitutionalist back, you're going to get the Constitution. You're going to get your rights restored.
On that note, I know we've exhausted our television hour. We very much appreciate the four of you, and I'm going to come back to Russ.
I'm not going to change a thing here for a moment. We're going to continue to have questions, but we do need to wrap up our, as Bill said, for our CCTV. So we know you still have many questions, and our candidates have all generously agreed to stay on a little longer. So where's the mic? And waving eager hands.
Yeah, John Adams, City Club member. In the land of the free and the home of the brave, we have more people in jails than any other country in the world. Now, what can you guys suggest we do about it?
Well, I mean, we, for one thing, we could end the war on drugs. It's not a declared war anymore like it was during the Reagan administration, but a huge percentage of the people currently incarcerated are being incarcerated for non-violent drug offenses. And I think that it's clear that putting people in jail does not deal with the bottom line issues of addiction. I think that treatment deals with addiction. And honestly, there's some things that just need to be decriminalized. And that's part of why I support the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act.
I don't agree with my good friend and competitor here on that, but I think that the prison situation is a symptom of the problem. The problem is people don't see a way out. We should improve our education system. We should give every child a chance. The 40-40-20 plan that Oregon's embarked on is a good first step. I think that we should be outcome-based and make sure that when we allocate money at the federal government level, it should be based on getting good results and good results in our education system. Don't micromanage folks here. Let Oregon do its thing, but give the resources and the opportunity to create a great education system so these folks can get good jobs. There's no need to have crime if you're getting a good job. The other big thing we need to do is improve our mental health services. I'm very hopeful as a result of the coordinated care that's sweeping our state. It's going to happen whether the Affordable Care Act's here or not. Is going to be improving not just physical health, but mental health. A lot of folks don't get the services they need. They don't get the follow-up at home once they get out of prison, get out of the mental hospital. We need to make sure we're providing the resources for these folks to be competent in our society. And that would be the way, the two proactive ways I drive down our prison population, make this career effective.
I want to address a little bit about health care. When my older brother was 6 and I was 2, my older brother had polio in the right arm. So I had a front row seat my whole life watching someone who needed health care and how he got it, and the struggles he had in life. My parents always said, we're not going to raise him as a cripple even though the schools want him to be in the handicapped children's class. Dad said if we raise him as a cripple, he'll grow up to be a cripple. And I'll tell you, when he was in gym class, he did more push-ups than anybody with one arm. Nobody else can do it with one arm. So who's really the handicapped person? I certainly don't. But let me tell you about prison. 75% of the people in prison today do not have a high school education. 1 out of 3 in Oregon were not graduating today. This is why I'm pushing for trade school education. In my background, I was a journeyman for a number of years. I want to get trade school back in the mid-high and high school. Give these young people an opportunity to have a life. You can't be a policeman, fireman, or go in the military today without a high school education. Let's get back to manufacturing. Let's get these people trained in the trade school and allow them to have a life. And that's where I'm coming from. When I was in grad school, we went down to Nellis Prison in Las Vegas and interviewed white-collar crime people. They're very good business people. They're just on the wrong side of the law. So what we need to do is keep them on the right side of the law, and so we can have, they're all capitalists down there, but they just don't want to pay taxes along with it. So let's keep the people out of prison. That's no life for anybody. It's no life for their families. I'm saying, get back to manufacturing, get back to trade school, give these people an opportunity to have a really legal life.
Okay, well, as we all know, well, we don't all know, but a lot of us know that a lot of the county budgets are balanced on the backs of the penal system. The federal money that comes in perpetuates an ongoing turnstile of the prison system. And nowadays, they're violating more rights than ever in individual cases, and there's a large increase in the number of people who are being convicted of crimes against children, parents that are being ramrodded into courtrooms that are juvenile courts that violate the Constitution, and therefore they're allowed to incriminate themselves and oftentimes go to jail for crimes they never committed. On the other hand, there are many people, right, there's an increase in the drugs, and we need to realistically appraise that the issue of this marijuana and allowing it to be legal is something that's a plant. It's not a drug. It needs to be removed from the controlled substance list and allow the drug enforcement agencies of the government to go after heroin and cocaine and meth and the other drugs that are tearing us apart. And most of these people that are going to prison are trying to get some money for their fix. So we need to give them jobs instead of allowing them to just go out and do the thing. Thank you very much.
Well, it's time for one more. Any questions for you back there? Here. Excuse me, I don't have the authority.
Aileen Kay, Salem City Club member. This is a question for Congressman Schrader. And first I want to thank you for all the things you've done for Oregon and the United States in the past several years. This is a question about Ryan Romney proposal that they intend to turn the Medicaid program into a block grant program, which to me means a lot less money from the federal government. Do you feel that turning this into a block grant program would weaken the Medicaid program so much that relatives who have residents in nursing facilities now might end up having to pay that bill instead of Medicaid?
Well, the answer is yes. And we saw that 20 years ago where when the federal government absolves itself of some of its responsibilities, the responsibility falls either to the state or the individual. The need does not go away. The need does not go away. I think we need to realize that. I disagree strongly with Congressman Ryan and Mr. Romney, Governor Romney, with their idea of balancing the budget on the backs of our most vulnerable, whether it's the Medicaid population or our seniors. Their answer to balancing the budget is effective. We'll just shift, from 1/3 of the seniors